What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video we're going to be testing the cameras out Super Saf style between the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus. We'll be testing out front rear facing cameras, looking at images, videos, low light stabilization, everything. So we're currently outdoors, we're using the front facing cameras, and we're going to be taking a bit of a walk and just to see how well these stabilize from the front facing camera. So let's turn that into a bit of a run now. So we're now filming at 4K at 30 frames a second from both cameras. Let's take a bit of a walk. We are using the wide angle. Now we can use the 2x optical zoom on both of them, so let's go ahead and do that. And this is going to give us optical zoom. However, the Note 8 does have OIS. This is something that we don't have on the iPhone 8 Plus's telephoto camera. Let's just take a bit of a walk. And I will switch back to standard. And we'll take a bit of a walk now as well. Now, one very cool thing about the iPhone 8 Plus is that it can film at 60 frames a second at 4K. So we are now at 60 frames a second at 4K on the iPhone 8 Plus, and just 30 frames a second on the Note 8. Now just going from side to side, not sure how it's going to look because this video is going to be exported out at 30 frames a second, but it should be smoother on the iPhone 8 Plus in general. We have just switched over to 1080p just to see if the cameras are a little bit more stable at 1080p. So let's go ahead and have a bit of a run. We're indoors in room lighting, just testing out the autofocus on the iPhone 8 Plus. Seems to be doing okay. Now same lighting on the Note 8, and yep, dual pixel autofocus is doing really well. So that was the video. Now before we move on to the images, looking at what we're working with here. So for the front facing cameras, we've got 7 megapixels on the 8 Plus versus 8 megapixels on the Note 8. You have a slightly wider aperture on the Note 8, and you've also got autofocus from the front facing camera on the Note 8. When it comes to the rear facing cameras, things are very similar in terms of the setup. We've got dual 12 megapixel cameras, a wide angle as well as a telephoto, slightly wider aperture once again on the Note 8, and we do have OIS on both cameras on the Note 8. On the iPhone 8 Plus, you only have optical image stabilization on the wide angle camera. The telephoto does not have this. Now, if you want to pick up a skin for your Note 8 or iPhone 8 Plus, then definitely check out our sponsor for this video, dbrand Skins. It's a great way to customize the look of your device, and I'll be leaving a link to them in the description below. And finally, a side note, everything that you see has been taken on automatic. I haven't tweaked any of the settings, and this is to keep things as fair as possible. So starting off with some selfies, I think both are doing really good here. We've got slightly wider angle of view on the Note 8. This is for images, it's not for video, so just do bear that in mind. But we've got slightly better dynamic range on the Note 8 here. We've got more details in the background compared to the iPhone 8 Plus. And trying out another shot with some more tricky dynamic range, you can see that the iPhone 8 Plus has definitely favored the foreground more, and some of you may like that. You can see that with the Note 8 it has more of a balanced shot, so you've got more of the sky that you can see on here, and it's not washed that sky out, but the foreground is a little bit darker because of this. Moving on to an outdoor shot in low light, I do think the Note 8 is doing better here because it's brighter, but when we use the front facing flash, then the iPhone 8 Plus is doing much better here. The colors are better and it also seems like a sharper image. Outdoor macro shot, both doing absolutely great here. You can go in 100% and you can see that we've got lots of details in this flower. Now this is where things get more interesting. So we've got an outdoor wide angle shot. Both are doing good here, but you can see that the clouds are quite blue on the iPhone 8 Plus. Now this is something that usually I expect from Samsung devices, being a bit more vibrant, but it seems to be the opposite way around here. And the HDR does seem to be quite aggressive on the iPhone 8 Plus, if I'm honest. If you've been to the UK before, you know that when we have an overcast, it is pretty grey. So I do think it's a little bit artificial here on the iPhone 8 Plus, but you might prefer that. Using the telephoto camera on both the iPhone 8 Plus, you can see that you actually get a little bit more of a zoom. But if we do go in 100%, the Note 8 is definitely sharper, and that is thanks to the optical image stabilization. This is something you do not have on the telephoto camera of the iPhone 8 Plus. It's only on the wide angle camera. Now I wanted to test out the HDR a little bit more, so I went to this other tricky situation. So once again, you can see that the iPhone 8 Plus has added a bit more blue to the clouds here. Now watch this, this is where it gets really interesting. If we move on to the telephoto, then the blue is no longer there in the clouds. Switching back just to show you, and back to telephoto. So you can see that the HDR is not consistent between the wide angle camera and the telephoto. This is something that was quite interesting to see, because I would say that the telephoto lens is giving more of a natural shot here compared to the wide angle, which is a little bit too aggressive on the HDR in my opinion. Now let's move on to the test that I know all of you guys want to see, and that is the background blur effect on both devices. And you can see that both of them are doing an absolutely great job. These images are great for Instagram, and you'll see that I've been posting a lot of these recently. Going in 100%, you can see that the edges are great on both as well. The Note 8 is, however, a little bit more sharp, but I like the colors better on the iPhone 8 Plus. They seem a little bit more natural in terms of the skin tones. And this is also the case with another shot here, so you can see that both are doing an absolutely great job. But when we do go into 100%, the Note 8 is definitely sharper, whereas the iPhone 8 Plus does have better colors. So this will come down to your personal preference, I think. Now with the Note 8, you can edit the blur after the fact. This is something you can't do on the iPhone 8 Plus. But on the iPhone 8 Plus, you do have studio lighting, so you can switch between some different lighting modes. This is currently in beta, and although the studio light and contour light options do work pretty well, when it comes to the stage light, this is a little bit inconsistent in my opinion. I've not had too much success with this mode as yet, but once again I want to emphasize this is in beta and it will improve over time. Now let's move on to some low light tests. So an indoor low light shot, and you can see that the Note 8 is brighter here. Now moving on to an outdoor low light shot, and this is very interesting because this is usually where you can pick a winner straight away, but here things are very, very close. Both are doing a great job outdoors in low light. If you do go in 100%, then I would say the Note 8 is sharper here, but both doing really good overall. So guys, there we have it, the super SAF style camera comparison between the iPhone 8 Plus and the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Some very, very interesting results here. Now, when it comes to the front-facing camera, for images, the Note 8 was wider, and it did seem to have more consistent dynamic range. But for the low light flash, the iPhone 8 Plus was definitely better. And when it came to front-facing camera video, then the Note 8 would take the win here. And although it's not as wide as when you have images, it is a lot more stable, and it looks like the Note 8 does crop into the video to give you that stabilization. So that is a compromise you have to make for the stabilization on the Note 8's front-facing camera, where you're gonna not get as much of a wide shot. Now when it comes to outdoor images, I think both were good. The HDR I did find a little inconsistent and a bit too strong on the iPhone 8 Plus, if I'm honest. The zoom on both was great, but with the Note 8, because of the optical image stabilization on the telephoto lens, it was sharper and more stable. audio. Now for video quality wise, both were good, but I would have to say that the 8 Plus was once again a little bit inconsistent in terms of the dynamic range. I specifically went to 2 different locations to test this out, and you saw that in the initial test the clouds were washed out on the video of the iPhone 8 Plus. But you do have 4K at 60 frames a second, which was really difficult to show in this video because everything else was shot at 30 frames a second, but it did seem a little bit more smooth. Now we might be getting 4K at 60 frames a second on the Note 8, but this is the software that we're currently using, and hopefully we will have this by the time we get the iPhone 10. And when it came to stabilization at 1080p, I would have to give the win to the iPhone 8. It was more natural. The Note 8 did seem to be trying to process things a bit too hard, and it did give a bit of a jittery effect. Now when it comes to autofocus, I think the Note 8 was doing better because of the dual pixel autofocus, especially in the tricky room light situation. And when it came to the depth of field effect, both were absolutely great. The Note 8 sharper, and you can edit the blur after the fact. With the iPhone 8 Plus, however, I think you had better colors, and you also had the studio lighting options, which you can change after the fact. When it came to low light, now I would say that the Note 8 was a tad better, but this has never been as close. And for audio, you still got mono recording on the iPhone 8 Plus versus stereo on the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. And last time a few people were saying, no, but the iPhone 8 Plus has stereo speakers. Yes, I know it has stereo speakers. I'm talking specifically about the audio recording. So guys, some very interesting results here. I think both are absolutely great cameras, some of the best that you can find out there. I do think that the iPhone 8 Plus needs a few software updates because it is pretty fresh and new. And hopefully these software updates will be fully implemented by the time we get the iPhone 10, when we will redo this test. What do you guys think of the results? Definitely drop me a comment below and let me know. And if you want to see lots of images from lots of different devices, then definitely give me a follow on Instagram. I'm at SuperSafTV. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe and switch on notifications. There's plenty more content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSafTV. I'll see you next time.